Thank you, Belinda. And thank you, everyone. So yes, I'm Caroline Sherrard from Quiet Power Coaching. And I help business owners develop their business by developing themselves through inner leadership skills. And also more recently, I'm evolving Speak from Your Heart, because it's something that I have found very difficult, speaking in front of others. And also I've noticed how clients do, and the difference it makes when you are clear and calmer and more confident in speaking to actually your business generation. So about 18 months ago, I was standing on a red circle, giving a TEDx talk. Somewhat surprised myself, given my nerves of speaking in front of a group. And my legs were like jelly. And my heart was thudding so loudly that I honestly, genuinely thought everyone must be able to hear it. It was a very anxious making experience, and yet there was a very supportive audience in front of me, 100 pairs of eyes in a small theatre in Frome in Somerset, all rooting for me, and the anxiety coursed through me. So afterwards, when my critic was so strong and the talk was being published online a few weeks later, I didn't actually want to share my talk. So my fellow speakers were like on LinkedIn, tagging me in, celebrating their talks on Facebook, and I didn't want to share mine. So I thought, enough is enough, this fear of public speaking. And I went, as I said, on a journey. I genuinely did go on a journey to look at my blocks around public speaking and also to learn more about speaking and storytelling, which I knew something about, but to develop those further. And along the way, I started helping others. Something I'd done years ago, but I kind of ran away from. And as I was helping others, there are lots of things I've seen that help, including what I'm going to call 3 A's for the purpose of this talk: acknowledge, allow, and appreciate. So the acknowledge is to acknowledge your strengths and your essence of who you are. One of the things about public speaking is very often we think, or at least the messages I receive from society, is public speaking needs to look one way. It needs to be high energy, very extrovert, very inspirational. Now, perhaps I can be inspirational, but I'm quiet. Put me in front of a group and I'm more likely to be the listener. And when I actually embraced that, brought in my Quiet Power Coaching, it's a business name, actually, I was better able to connect with the audience. So what I help people is to tap into the essence of who they are. So if you want to, perhaps after this talk, or maybe even in a quick moment now, think about a time when you were talking to a group and you felt what you might call you. Things were flowing, they were easeful, you felt connected to the group. It could be socially, it could be in business, it could be a formal talk. What was happening in your thoughts or your feeling or your experience? What are some words that would describe that? You might even say, describe your power when you are most connected and empowered. So mine is quiet power. And I also call it quiet power because when we're in that place, when we feel aligned with who we are, you may recall that actually the mind goes quiet. There's spaciousness inside. So I believe everyone knows what quiet power is like, but they may not call it that. They may have another name. So what's your name for your flavor of power? And as you bring that into your speaking, you're more likely to connect with who you're speaking to. So that's acknowledge. Allow is to allow the journey from what I call the head to the heart. So I was running a workshop last week. And I asked people to introduce themselves without giving it much thought and to introduce themselves from the head. And then we took a moment to breathe into our heart and breathe out of the heart. Now, I know in business, heart stuff isn't quite so always something you talk about. But amazingly, when people did that, they paused and then led from their heart and introduced themselves, they noticed a difference. They talked about being more relaxed. Their words flowed better. There was greater ease. So the allow is to allow your heart to lead the way in your speaking and be in the moment with it. And then the third A is appreciate. Appreciate the audience. When I was working with someone last week, he said that when we were talking about the audience, he noticed how he had made the audience a thing, like an object. But of course, you lot aren't an object. You're not a thing. You're separate individual human beings. So when we appreciate the audience, something happens. And the barrier that often is between a speaker and the audience drops. So instead of having them and me, we have a we. And I appreciate you as an audience. I also might actually tune into what is it that you want the audience to feel as a result of you speaking to them. Working with a client recently on that, and I asked her that question, what do you want your audience to feel as a result of your talk? She said, oh, that's easy. I want them to feel uplifted, positive, and to take away something they can put into action. Fine, I said, start from there. Create your talk from there. And then that will be your anchor for your talk. So acknowledge, allow, appreciate, acknowledging the strengths, allow your heart to lead in your speaking, and appreciate your audience. A bonus tip here is about storytelling. You might recall that I started this talk with my story about being on that red circle and giving the TEDx talk. I can even almost feel my nerves coming up now, even just mentioning it. But storytelling is very powerful. And actually, the 3-line story is my simple version of the storytelling. You can share that in networking. It's classic hero's journey stuff, before, journey, after, what the outcome was. So I was standing on a red circle giving a TEDx talk with anxiety coursing through my body. I went on a journey to learn a calmer, clearer, more confident way of speaking, and now I help others with that. You're more likely to remember that storytelling. Look how quickly I did that. You can even include that in, I don't know, about 30 seconds with the Cheltenham networking, but maybe a 60-second networking. And then people are more likely to be able to refer you, or rather refer others to you, and more likely to remember you because of a short story you've told about what you do. Then if you have more time, you add details, a little bit about the context, how you were feeling, maybe something about the environment, and you have a story. It really is that simple. It's also concise, it's more memorable. So that's the art of storytelling. My experience of storytelling is it could be so convoluted I get lost. But they bring it back to the core of what's your message, what's your journey, what is it you want people to receive? What I want people to receive is more ease with speaking because it's been agony for me. I've run away. I've hidden. I've avoided. But when actually we're speaking in the moment, as I'm doing now, not knowing what I'm going to say, being present, it's surprisingly authentic. It's surprisingly connecting for an audience. So the art of storytelling and some tips are a start to showing what the power of speaking can be in front of others, informally or formally. And so if you know someone, or you are someone who's confident about speaking, and yet you know that your message needs to be clearer and more connecting and engaging, please pass on my email address, caroline@quietpowercoaching.com, and I can have a conversation. Or if you know someone who's really nervous about speaking in front of a group, maybe they want help with going blank, forgetting their words, or preparing a talk, then please pass on my email address, caroline@quietpowercoaching.com, and I can have a free, no obligation talk about whether I can help. And as well as speak from your heart, as I said at the beginning, I help business owners grow their business through growing themselves. In effect, with finding out their power, their empowerment, their decision making, and being in alignment. Again, totally available for no obligation conversation. But what I want to leave you with is the power of storytelling and finding your story, that it doesn't have to be convoluted. It can be clear, concise, and authentic, and that's a great way of engaging with an audience. Thank you.